Aloha artists, Miss Maggie here. This has been a different start of a school year, hasn't it been? I know that I've had all sorts of new things I've had to learn and figure out, and I bet you have too. Part of life is having things go wrong or go ways that you didn't expect them. And that's one of the frustrating things about life. But you know what problems are good for? Problems are good for stories. Have you ever read a good book where nothing went wrong, everything was good, and everyone was happy the whole time? Oh, that doesn't exist. Come on. Any good story has things that don't go the way you expected it to. So, let's look back at your first quarter of this wild school year and pick an event, even just a little moment that didn't go the way you expected it to, and create a comic about it today as your art project. Okay? So, these are the supplies that you're going to need. We are going to need a large drawing paper. We are going to need a large drawing paper and a small drawing paper as well. Both of the sizes of drawing paper. We're also going to want one scrap paper. I don't mind if it has lines on it, if one side's a little messed up. This one's blank, but it has a bit of wrinkling. So that is going to be my scrap paper. You're also going to need a pencil and an eraser and a Sharpie, and you're going to want a an extra fine-tipped Sharpie or some other sort of black marker, but that is extra thin. If it's a ballpoint or if it's a gel pen or whatever, one of these is what you need. Not all three, but find something that you can use to go over your words and details, okay? And finally, we are going to color these. I'm going to recommend colored pencils. So, small drawing paper, large drawing paper, a scrap paper, pencil, eraser, Sharpie, extra fine Sharpie, or some other type of extra fine black pen, and some colored pencils. Okay, go get those supplies and meet me right back here. Before we plan out our actual comic, let's figure out how are we going to draw the main character of this comic. I suspect that the main character is going to be you, because this is a story about something you experienced. So let's look at some ways to draw yourself as a cartoon. We'll be drawing yourself more than once, so let's do this in a simple way, but we are not doing stick figures. Stick figures, they don't give you enough opportunity to express, to tell us about who you are and what you're doing. So follow along with me and I'll show you a way to create a cartoon version of yourself that is just about as easy as a stick figure, okay? So I'm going to start with a head. Circle, oval, whatnot, whatever you like. And some eyes. Be looking in whatever direction right now. Doesn't matter. Oh, my eyeballs aren't matching, so I'm going to make them match. Little nose. Right now, I'm happy. Eyebrows are really important. And I'm going to give myself some little ears, and my hair is going to be my ponytail. So I've got my head. Great. Let's do the body. The body, I'm not worrying about being realistic. I'm going to attach sort of something that's in between a rectangle and a triangle to the head. And if I'm wearing shorts, I can have some shorts off of that. And my feet are going to be like this. I'm going to be wearing slippers. Whoops. Just like that. And my hands, and I'm just going to do little mitten hands, though those look a little bit like pinchers, so I'm going to show you mittens, not pinchers. I'm not a crab. There we go. Just a little bit more like that. And of course you can add more detail. And of course you might have a different way of drawing a cartoon version of yourself. But make sure that the body is not a stick. The body has thickness, so you can show us something about what clothes you're wearing, even if it's not exactly, if it's a cartoon version. If the arms and the legs aren't thick, they're just lines, that's okay. But I can thicken them very easily like that. And if I want to have sleeves on and a collar on my shirt, do that a little bit better. Sleeves on. So, see, now I'm getting more complicated. You don't have to. But that's looking pretty realistic. Now, I'm going to try a version of myself with a different emotion. I'm going to show that emotion with my face, but also the body language, okay? So, I'm going to do the head at an angle. I'm going to do my person looking down. I'm going to have eyelids going over the eyes and eyebrows going down, and of course the mouth can be drooping too. I'm going to give my hair, I have my head to the side, so maybe I can only see one ear, and maybe even my ponytail is drooping. And then how do I do the body? Let's do a different shape for the body. The body shape itself is drooping. And the hands are drooping. And I look like I need a nap and a hug, don't I? We've all had times like that, haven't we? If you see a family member that needs a hug, why don't you give them one? That'll help them out. So, your job right now is to have 2 cartoons of yourself that show different emotions. And they can be simple like we just did, they can be this style, or they might be a different style, as long as they're not stick figures. I want to see body language and details that show us your personality and your emotions. Okay? If you've got that, then you're on to the next step. Step number 2 is this. You are going to get your scrap paper. That paper that can have lines on it, don't have to worry about it, but needs to have one side that's basically blank. And I am going to fold that paper in half. And then in half again, so that it is in quarters. Open it back up. And this is where we're going to plan out our comic. 1, 2, 3, 4 is where our panels are going to go. But this is for figuring out what the story is. This isn't about how beautiful your drawing is. No, it's about what's happening in each panel to tell the story and what's the character thinking or saying. I was thinking of a challenge that I had this quarter, and I think I know what I'm going to do. I'm going to speed up my sketching here because I did a lot of thinking while I was doing this. Because as I said, this isn't about the quality of your drawing. It's about, well, what goes in what panel to tell the story. Here I am teaching an art class by videotaping myself. And I am all animated and I'm painting and I'm telling the students what we're doing. I'm full of energy. And I'm thinking, okay, what am I saying? And artists, that is how we will paint our brilliant self-portraits. You can see my desk. I've got my cameras there that are filming me. And then, well, what happens next? I am doing the next part, and you can see that my body language is a little bit different. I am leaning over. I am getting my footage onto my computer, and I am still talking because I talk to myself sometimes, and you can see that I still have my talking bubble up at the top. Finally, time to upload my footage. I'll be done by dinner. That gives a sense of timing. And so my next one, I am leaning over more. I'm changing my body language and thinking, well, what shape is my body going to be? It's not perfect. I'm just sort of trying out ideas, and definitely my face is going to have a different look on it too, because I am getting tired. I'm still smiling a little bit. I think I'll have the moon rising in this next one. Finally, transferred. Let's edit. I am finally editing my film footage, and I'm putting in that the students expect them by tomorrow. They expect the videos. That makes it time sensitive. And then, well, what happens in this last panel? My head is on the laptop. Have you had that feeling? You can see by the look of my face, things are not better. They're worse at the moment. What happened to me? Oh, I didn't plug in the microphone. And that's the story I'm telling. I did get through it, but it was an interesting day. I have how the story goes there, and I have what I say in each one. If you want, of course, you can have it be thought bubbles. You can round these. You could have two people talking. You would just have another box, like if I was teaching a class and someone on the computer was talking, I could have a bubble right there. There's all these different options, right? And so, do you have your idea planned out? If you have your idea planned out, you're ready for step 3. Your large drawing paper, where we will draw. Okay, we have our final drawing paper here. This is where we're going to do our top-notch work to do our final product. I am going to do the same thing I did the other one, is I'm going to fold very carefully. And so I'm going to match those corners and match the corners again as closely as I can. Open it up, and I have 2, 3, 4 sections there. Now that I have those lines, I'm going to do one more thing with my ruler. I am going to mark 1.5 inch down from the top. 1.5 inch down from the top, and then 1.5 inch down from the fold. 1.5, halfway between the 1 and the 2. So I've got 0 on the fold, 1.5 right there. Same thing over here, 1.5. Now, I'm going to draw a line across, touching that line there, down to the other line. See how I have that across? That is going to be a light guideline to help me remember where to put my words. Oh, I must have done something wrong. Was I not paying attention? Let's see. 1, oh, silly me, look what I did. I put 0 there, and I have 2, and that's where I made the mark. So, if you're talking while you're measuring, that's a good way to make a mistake, just like I did. So, right between the 1 and the 2, that is where I want that mark to be, because now, if I line up with that mark, it'll go across to that mark, and it will be straight across. Okay, just so that I am really clear where my lines are, I'm going to make some lines on my folds too. We're going to Sharpie those later, but that helps us know. Now, I am going to look back at my drawing, And I'm going to go, okay, I need to do this, but my best work, because what I put on here is going to be Sharpied and it's going to be colored. So I'm going to think back to how I drew my cartoon character, how I'm going to make it look its best, both with body language and expression. And I'm going to draw lightly to begin with. I'm going to speed up the video footage here so you can watch my process in fast forward. And you can see, though, that I am working on improving the details, on showing exactly the emotion and the energy, even if it doesn't look realistic. But there's something else I'm going to need for this panel too, words. And for that, I'm going to need some guidelines. And I'm going to use my ruler again. I'm going to do 3 marks here. I'm going to do 1 inch, and I'm going to do a 1/2 inch, so between 0 and 1, right there. I'm going to do the same thing on this side too. 1/2 inch and 1 inch. And what's that for? Well, that is for where my words are going to go. And if I'm doing 1, I might as well go straight across and do both of them. And so I can round this so it fits in there, so it looks more like a bubble. But I have the lines where my words are going to go. And if you have a lot to say, then you're going to want more lines, okay? But we want to make sure that when you do your lettering, that we can read it. Now, your handwriting is important. If you learned from your draft that you have a whole lot to say, then you might want to make even more guidelines as you go. But on to panel 2. I am drawing myself, getting a little bit tired. There are some details that are going to change in each panel, and there are some that are going to stay the same. My desk is staying mostly the same, but my body language is starting to shift. On to panel 3. You can see how I am starting to droop. I've got a bit of a smile on my face still, but I am tired. I'm hoping I'm near the finish line, and the moon is starting to rise outside. Finally transferred. Let's edit those videos. The students expect them tomorrow. And you might even notice my ponytail is drooping too. But here, oh, I am just done. I'm trying to decide how to have my ponytail droop. Yes, across my face there. The moon is higher. And I am writing with my best handwriting. I didn't plug in the microphone, and I did have to spell check that. And now to go over your lines with Sharpie and pen. I am going around the talking bubbles with Sharpie and the barriers between the panels, and then everything else, use that finer tipped pen, whether it's a ballpoint pen, whether it is an extra fine tip Sharpie or a gel pen, whatever it is that can show off your lines with a very fine mark. Go over each of those and go over your letters, but do not do the line that you use to make your letters straight. That way, when you erase the line, it looks like you just magically got your letters straight, okay? But do show off your best handwriting. Do show off your best details. They are cartoony details, but they are still telling us the story. And also double check as you erase what lines you might have missed. Make sure they're all in there, and definitely erase all those pencil lines. That is going to finish it off. Okay, if you have gone over all of the lines in your artwork with a pen and then erased all of the lines, then you are ready for the last step to make your comic look incredible. We are going to color. Let's look at this piece. The parts that we're going to color is everything except inside the talking bubbles. Anything that should be white, like the whites of your eyes might be white, and just about everything else will be colored. Let's remember to do our best coloring here. I am keeping my colored pencils going in one direction and keeping it even. One trick that I use is that I take something like my person and color it in each panel at the same time. And so that way I know which colors I'm using. I have them all out and I can bounce between the panels and color my shirt in all of them because my shirt's looking the same in all the panels. That's not one of the details that changes over time. One thing that will change though is the time of day outside. But I'm going to work on all the views outside my window right now. And so I can think about, well, what colors are going to show how it changes? And so that is the detail I'm concentrating on and putting my mind to making that look its best. Sometimes I use a piece of paper to cover where I don't want the color pencil to go. And I'm thinking what colors are going to help the details stand out and contrast the other parts. How do I make this look its best? I keep doing another layer. Sometimes I blend colors. I stop and I look and I see what else does it need. How is yours coming along? Look over each part. Read what your characters think or say. What do you notice? Anywhere that you need to add a little bit more of something? If so, do that. Oftentimes, it's those last little details that level up the piece even further. Now, when you are done with that, here is your reflection question. What did you learn from this situation that didn't go as expected that can help you in the future? I learned to always have my microphone turned on and also check my sound settings. Also, what was your favorite memory from this first quarter of the school year? Because I bet some good things happened too, even if you have to think about it for a little while to remember. So, what did you learn from the situation, and what is a good memory from first quarter as well? For the story in my own comic, I did refilm what I needed, stayed up late editing, and still got my videos to everyone. So I still succeeded and made my deadline so all of you could have your videos. So I hope that you also persevere, keep going when things are challenging. And I also hope that you take a photo of your artwork and share it with your teacher and your class and with me. I love seeing your art, and when we share our stories of things that didn't go as expected, a lot of times we feel better. We realize, we kind of all are in the same boat. We've all had challenging things this quarter, haven't we? But we are stronger and we are getting through it together, and we can even laugh about it now. Okay. Upload your artwork so that I can see it. Clean up your art supplies, put it away to keep it safe, and put your artwork up somewhere where you can enjoy it, where your family can enjoy it, and we can remember that we can succeed. Okay? You have a beautiful day. I can't wait to make more art with you soon. Hui ho!